and welcome to another ELF review. This time I will be reviewing the ELF Prism Palettes. There are currently 3 options available. We have Naked, Sunset, and Smoke. And this is a newer product from ELF that came out about last September, so September of 2013. And ELF claims that this is their best eyeshadow formulation to date. In terms of packaging, these are very nice and sleek. They each come with 6 eyeshadows going kind of from lightest to darkest, and each palette has at least 1 highlight shade on the far left side. And they also come with a long mirror that's not very wide. If you're trying to get an idea of how big these are, this is how they compare to a regular pen. So about the length of a pen, and they also come with a dual-sided applicator. And when you close them, they're very nice and sleek. So they're very thin, so very good for traveling, and also very sturdy. I have tried them out flying with them and I had no issues whatsoever. This time, and even a bit uncharacteristically for ELF, the naming is spot on, meaning that the Naked palette really has just naked tones, and the Sunset one has kind of sunsetty tones, and the Smoke one has dark jewel tones. All of these eyeshadows are shimmery, very shimmery. I would call them metallic. So let's go on to the live swatches. Going in the order they are listed on the website, I will start with Naked palette. So first this white. Hope that you can see it. Barely touched it. Okay, so good pigmentation, a nice basic white to highlight with or to put all over the lid. This champagne is actually one of my favorite colors. It's really, really beautiful. And then a slightly darker shade that has kind of a rose gold shade. And then an even darker one. Very nice pigmentation. Very, very nice pigmentation on these darker ones. Coming back with a clean finger to swatch the last color from this palette. This has to be one of my favorites. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It even has a little bit of purple in it. Just gorgeous. I think this last one would be pretty close to MAC's Satin Taupe. So the website says that you can use this dry or wet. I have never used them wet. I've used them quite a bit, but I've always used them dry because I find that the pigmentation is more than enough. I mean, I barely touch them now, and look at what kind of pigmentation I got. They're all nice and shimmery. I can imagine that if you use them wet, you would get that foiled look, if that's what you're looking for. Other than that, they blend beautifully, and I find the color selection really, really pretty. Just for the sake of getting a comprehensive review out there, I thought I would also swatch these wet. So, first one. You can definitely see that wetting them makes them pop even more than this beautiful champagne one. Beautiful. And the rose gold one. So the ones on top are the wet ones, and the ones on the bottom, the dry ones, obviously. And this bronze one, really, really beautiful and intensely pigmented. And finally, the last 2 ones. Really pretty. This is a more coppery shade, even more so than the last. And my favorite from this palette. Beautiful. Just gorgeous. So as you see, they're gorgeous both wet and dry. I would highly recommend this palette if you're looking for a neutral, elegant kind of look. And if you're not in for an all shimmery look, you may mix in with these a matte shadow. But I find that, you know, when you blend them out, they don't look quite as shimmery, so they can work very well just on their own without any added mattes. So again, these are the swatches of the Naked palette. The bottom row is the swatches dry, and the top row is the same swatches wet. So you see there is a shimmery white, a beautiful champagne shade that is wonderful all over the lid, or that would work really well as a highlight for a deeper skin tone. I am extremely pale, so I prefer using it as an all over the lid shade than a rose gold kind of shade. Two coppery shades, one is deeper than the other, and this beautiful, beautiful darker brown that has a bit of purple in it. I just love this last one. I actually absolutely love the whole palette. I have to say this is one of my all-time favorite palettes. They all have a nice shimmer to them, and I think that these colors would go pretty much for every eye color and every skin color and every skin shade. So a really, really beautiful assortment of colors. 2 thumbs up for these two ELF. Moving over to the Sunset palette. I really like this first shade for a highlight. It's a white shade with just a slight hue of pink. I hope that you can pick up on it. And then kind of corally shade. And then a deeper coral shade, kind of dusty pink. A gold shade. A darker pink shade, all nice and shimmery. And finally a purple. So really, really pretty. I think that this palette would be a really great buy for somebody with green eyes in particular, or somebody who's into the kind of looks that you can get with the Naked 3 palette, because these, just like the Urban Decay Naked 3, also have a lot of rosiness going on, so you would be able to achieve some of those same looks. They're all shimmery, but I would have to say that out of all the palettes, this is probably the one that is least able to stand on its own, meaning that if you look at all these colors, you have some really beautiful shades that would go really well for the summer, but what you're lacking is a really deep shade that you could use to darken up the outer V, or as a nice darker crease shade. So I would say that if you're just looking to buy one of these, and this is the one that you want to buy, the Sunset one, you maybe want to throw in a black that you already own, or get a black along with it, because otherwise I find that you're not going to be able to get the depth you may be looking for in a look. And the last 2 shades. You can see how effortless the pigmentation is on these when you use them wet, but even when you use them dry, they're really, really good. Boom. Yeah, really nice colors, really intense pigmentation. I have no problem whatsoever with these creasing on me, so I would highly recommend them. But even wet, I still think that you need a darker shade. You know, if not a black, maybe a dark brown. So here's a closer look at those swatches. The top row is wet and the bottom is dry. This first one is the one with just a hue of pink, the white with a hue of pink that I was mentioning, that I find very, very pretty. And all these colors are really gorgeous. You can see how applying them wet bumps up the pigmentation, and also applying them wet makes them quite a bit more shimmery and metallic looking. So it's easy to get that foiled look if you're applying them wet. But I really like them dry. I have never used them wet on my eyes, but after these swatches I probably will. Really, really pretty. Finally, the third of the palettes, the smoke one. So let's see this white. I would say that probably this white is the one with the least pigmentation out of all three palettes, but it's still not bad. Then a gray, kind of a medium gray. This really beautiful green. This is kind of emerald green. Really, really beautiful. I think that the picture on the ELF website really does not do it justice. A darker plum purple. There. Really pretty. A dark, almost navy blue. And the last color is this shimmery black. Whoops. Yeah. So really nice jewel tones. Very good pigmentation on all of them, except for this white, which is okay. Well, actually a bit more than over average. But the rest of them are really, really good. And I really like all of them. And now on to the wet swatches. The white, much better pigmentation wet, as you can see. The gray, I would say this is a blue toned gray, very pretty. The green, which I really love, very nice. The purple, a very nice plum purple. Concluding with this dark blue. And the black. So the black is not quite as opaque as the one that you may get from Wet n Wild, but still okay. I still think these colors are gorgeous and I really enjoy wearing all of them. I would probably say that the one that I wear most is this green here. I simply love this color. I think that it's a very, very special color. It's a special shade of green that I don't really have in other palettes. Now a close-up of the swatches of the Smoke palette. As I was saying, the only one that is slightly disappointing is this white, but it still works well for a highlight color. So the bottom row shows the dry swatches and the top row shows the wet swatches, which are a bit more intense, but the pigmentation is really excellent with most of these, even dry. All in all, I would say that these palettes are a huge hit for me, especially in this configuration, meaning all three of them together. As I said, if you're willing just to pick up one individually, probably the one in the middle, the sunset one, is the least able to stand on its own due to the lack of a really dark contrast color. The other two, the Naked and the Smoke one, can work very well on their own, with the mention that with the Smoke palette you are mainly going to get only pretty dark dramatic looks. Probably from this point of view the most versatile is the Naked one, because you can get gorgeous neutral shades, but these last few shades are actually pretty dark, so you can go into the smoky realm with them. I definitely think that ELF was trying to dupe the L'Oreal Infallibles with these, and the L'Oreal Infallibles are the one that come in this kind of packaging. The feel of them is very similar. They're very silky, buttery soft. They're very pigmented, just that like the Infallibles are, with the main difference that these palettes retail for $10 a piece on the ELF website, whereas I think that the L'Oreal ones sell for $7.99 on Ulta, and in Europe they are sold for €8, which is just over $10. So the L'Oreal ones are definitely much more expensive than these palettes, and then again with the L'Oreal ones you can only get singles, you cannot get any kind of palette. But let me show you what I mean with that by doing a quick swatch. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison of a quick swatch of the L'Oreal Infallible in Endless Chocolat. Really nice pigmentation. And the darkest shade in this Naked palette. The pigmentation in real life is very similar. The Endless Chocolat shade is a lot darker, so that's why it might look like the L'Oreal one is more pigmented. But in real life, they feel and they look very similar, and they wear very similar on the eyelids, meaning that I don't have any problems with either of these creasing or fading. I think they're excellent products, and I think that for the price, these are some of the best palettes you can get. And not to mention that a lot of the times ELF runs promo codes. You could buy these for as low as $5 a piece, which in my opinion is an absolute steal. So if I would have to give these ELF Studio Prism palettes a grade, as a trio, I would probably give them a 9.8, just because they're all shimmery shades. So if you're looking for that one matte shade, you're not gonna find it in these palettes. And I also took away 0.1 because this one shade here is not up to par in pigmentation with the rest. But other than that, they are gorgeous shades, excellent pigmentation, versatile. You can use them wet or dry, and they're an excellent value for their price. If I would have to give them grades individually, definitely the Sunset one would get the lowest grade because of the way it is put together. But as a trio, you basically get with them a whole range of looks that you can do, from very neutral to very summery ones to dark dramatic ones. So as a trio, three together I think work wonderfully, and I would highly recommend checking them out. I hope that this review was helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!